More of a socialistic type of government?
No, social democrat, what I would say.
It struck me immediately how equalitarian the whole country is. And I was kind of astonished coming from America. It was extremely refreshing to see this.
In a way, it feels more like England felt when I was growing up in the 40s and 50s, when there was a very big emphasis on public service and on looking after people.
I think it must be great to be a child in Iceland. To me, the amazing thing is that because of the low level of crime, and at least traditionally, everyone watching out for everyone else, you can let children go wherever they want. And I think it's great, as a child, not to be constrained. If you're in Manhattan, you can't even go out of the apartment building, let alone walk down the street.
The question used to always come up is when Akranes had so many good players, you had the good Johnsons, you had Siggy Jonsson, you had the Gunnlaugsons, all from Akranes. So everybody used to think there was something in the water in Akranes that was producing all these good players. So there's, I think it's just the backing, the community backing, the freedom for the young players. I've got 3 young boys myself, all under 8 years old, and we don't give them the freedom in comparison to Iceland, where I think the kids get much more freedom.
Because it's a safer society. It just feels like a place where your children can go out at an earlier age, follow their curiosity, and their parents don't have to sort of hover over them. They're allowed to sort of become independent sooner and safer than for sure kids can in the States. And yes, that changes the very character of a country and its people.
Certainly when it comes to business, the guys that I've met can be very brave and very, what's the word, it's not outgoing or invasive. They don't have the same mental barriers that we have. That is one of the main reasons why I was attracted to go into business with Icelanders, because of that reason. They just don't see the same boundaries that we see.
I came to Iceland for the first time in 1975, and we traveled inside by Land Rover to Rakureli. It was horrible. The roads were awful. I said, we in Russia have very bad roads. So, but yours are even worse. But you cannot compare now. It is, we have the same roads, but you have improved. The country is prospering, actually. You can see it.
I get some sense that there is sort of emerging capitalistic trends.
I see a strong capitalist flavor.
I'd say it's a capitalist society without a doubt. But I think that probably comes through the working culture. If you have a working culture like that, you just want what you can get out of life.
Ísland. Lýðræði, first and foremost. Ekki kapitalism.
I was walking around the main square in Reykjavik with Olaf, and I saw a police car. I'd never seen one before, with a policeman standing outside it watching. And I said, what's he doing there? And Olaf said, don't you see there's a demonstration going on? And I said, no, I don't see a demonstration. I just see a lot of people having lunch. And he said, no, that's a demonstration. The Parliament gave itself a raise, but wouldn't give anybody else a raise, so they're demonstrating. But they'll stop as soon as lunch is over.
Of course, you have a lot of people now who are investing in stocks and maxing out their credit cards and playing the lottery and doing a lot of other things that we think of as being more capitalist.
They are capitalists because they are a way of living absolutamente maravillosa. But at the same time, I have no poor. Nobody dies outside of cold, of hungry. No.
I asked Olaf as we were driving around Reykjavik, where do the rich people live and where do the poor people live, and he couldn't tell the difference.
Garbage man can be having dinner with corporate head.
And if you meet somebody in the city or in Reykjavik on a Friday night, you wouldn't know where they lived or where they came from. Whereas if you come to London, depending on what bar you were in or where you were, you would know whether they were middle class or whether they were working class.
I did a film that the story was a boy with 30 years, still at home, doesn't want to do anything.
Tell me, Leonor, what is it you do in life?
Me?
You?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah.
You, in Iceland, you can be a boy who wants to be nothing, do nothing, don't be any interest for the society, and there is a country who allows, so everybody is respected, even this one.
I think that there's an element of the Icelandic people being a bit spoiled because it's a wealthy nation, maybe, you know, mainly due to the fishing industry, which at least used to be really good and, you know, still provides a lot of wealth to the country, and also being so self-supplying in terms of energy, which is something that everyone else around the world is really struggling with.
They have slight feeling that they're on a small isolated Iceland, and they have the feeling that the better world is somewhere across the sea, and it's all better, and they see the movies, they read the magazines and see there is some better life there, and they are very keen to get that. And sometimes maybe they don't understand how hard that life is, how different it is, but they want to acquire the attributes of that life, and sometimes they get lost in seeking to replicate the life somewhere else and actually don't concentrate on how good it is what they've got.
There are occasions when I think that Icelandic society suffers from an inferiority complex because there aren't too many of you, and the world is full of huge countries, you know, with massive populations, all of whom got bigger voting rights than you have.
I imagine to be Icelandic is pretty tough because everyone knows everything about you. They know your relatives, they know your history.
In my case, I married a woman who, as I said, who is genetically Icelandic. All her grandparents came from the northwest coast. And in fact, we went up on our honeymoon to this valley. She came from Hula. And I remember somebody looking at her. He was an MP, one of your MPs, and he looked at her face, and he knew who she was. It just struck me as astonishing that you could look at somebody and know exactly who they are without asking their name or anything. Quite scary if you've had lots of affairs. So I imagine your private lives are a disastrous open book, which you probably don't want to read. So you probably kind of remain emotionally illiterate voluntarily, not to kind of go too far in that.
It's good to go to Iceland and have, you know, and make one Icelandic friend, and he'll introduce you to the rest of the city. You know, everyone you want to meet.
No one can get too big for their boots. Not even Bjork, not even the president. Because in the end, you know, it'll be somebody else tomorrow, and they have to meet each other in the street.
Empty thoughts, find myself.
Íslendingar finna ekki að þeir eru einhvers staðar burt frá veröldinni, þvert á móti, þeir eru í miðju.
Certainly people never realize how close it is, that it's 4.5 hours by air from New York. People never realize that. And it sounds quite isolated, you know.
When I tell people that I have a house in Iceland, people are amazed. And they want to know why. I think in most cases what they're concerned about is that people up there are living in igloos and there's ice and snow everywhere.
I look to my Eskimo friend.